Good evening, everyone. We got a good crowd here tonight, so that's wonderful. Thanks, everybody, for coming. The video of this meeting is streamed live on YouTube and will also be available on Facebook and on the Village website. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask Clerk Saladino to call the roll.
Trustee Augustine.
Here.
Trustee Gale.
Here.
Trustee McGee.
Here.
Trustee O'Brien.
Here.
Trustee Peterson.
Here.
Trustee Thompson.
Here.
President Kugler.
Here. And we have a special presentation in a little bit, but in that honor, we have Senior Account Clerk Cheryl Aquila's family, and I know she has a lot of volunteers for the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody who's going to say the pledge could come up to the podium, that would be wonderful. And you're going to either introduce yourself or introduce your brother, grandson, granddaughter, however you want to do it, so that we make sure everybody gets introduced. All right, Cheryl, will you say their name into the microphone? Kevin's going to help you too, I think.
All right, this is Gianna, and Emma, and Grayson, Charlie, Frankie, and Freddie, and my son Charlie.
Awesome. What a great
We're all
group.
going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Go. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What a fantastic job. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's go. Good job, guys.
We have a few things on tonight's agenda, but one of the main purposes of tonight's meeting is to recognize our citizen volunteers. This evening, we're afforded the opportunity to show our appreciation as a board for the individuals that volunteer their time and talents to our boards and commissions, and that really makes up the governance in the Village of Grange. These men and women devote countless hours to reviewing and understanding the issues before them. They contribute their free time to ensure that the work of government gets accomplished. In recognition of these efforts, we'd like to take some time to present some of the accomplishments of these boards and commissions this evening, which will be presented by the liaisons to the various groups. The individuals are encouraged to raise their hand or briefly rise to be acknowledged after their name's called. After the meeting, we'll have a reception in the back of the room as a gesture of our appreciation. To begin the presentation, I'd like to invite Deputy Village Manager, Community Development Director, Charity Jones, to present the Board of Fire and Police Commission.
Thank you. In accordance with state statute, the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners undertakes several efforts related to the appointment of all full-time firefighter, paramedics, and police officers. They also consider promotional appointments and administer disciplinary action. The Board of Fire and Police Commissioners includes Elise Hoffenberg, who has served 10 years and is our current chair, Brian Borsma, who served 6 years, and Tom Lovato, who has served 5 years.
Lost my place there for a second. We'll try to keep going here. Next up is Trustee Peterson to present the Community Economic Development Commission.
The Community and Economic Development Commission, CEDC, considers and makes recommendations to the Village Board regarding economic development issues. The CEDC considers current economic trends and the potential for their application in LaGrange. The CEDC continues to remain engaged in the implementation of brand strategy through a variety of initiatives. Over the past year, the CEDC provided direction on the development of a valet parking program, and updates to the village special events policy. They have also played an active role in supporting the ongoing comprehensive plan update. And the members are Mr. Russ Roberto, 10 years, and current chairperson, Steve Nazir, 2 years, Christopher Heary, 2 years, Katie McQuiston, 3 years, John Janowski, 3 years, Justin Hanson, 4 years, Beverly Hayes, 5 years, Maurice McGee, 5 years, Michael Buttran, 6 years, Tom Cassidy, 8 years, Camille Hall, 9 years, James Janeski, 9 years, Lisa Shear, 9 years, Margaret Colson, 16 years, and Steve Palmer, 24 years.
Thank you, Trustee Peterson, and thank you to everybody here that served on that important commission. Trustee Thompson, please present the Design Review Commission.
Thank you, President Kukler. The Design Review Commission, formerly known as the DRC, reviews and makes recommendations to the village board on design review permit applications, which generally encompass the central business district along Grange Road, Hillgrove, and Burlington Avenues. They administer the village's commercial building comprehensive sign plan and reviews for the central business district facade renovation and restoration loan program. Over the past year, the DRC reviewed and recommended approval of significant facade renovations to accommodate First National Bank and Trust at 620 West Burlington and additional tenant space at 115 North LaGrange Road. Minor facade changes were made at existing properties were also recommended for approval. Approval at Starbucks at 38 South LaGrange Road, the Wooden Paddle at 23 West Calendar Court, White Buffalo at 31.5 South LaGrange Road, and the Elm at 23 West Harris Avenue. The DRC also reviewed and recommended approval of one new comprehensive sign plan at 115 North LaGrange Road and one sign plan amendment to accommodate the Stretch Lab at 4 West Calendar Court. The members of this committee are Kevin Cahill, who is the current chairperson, has been on the committee for 5 years, Ray Baker, who's 4 years, Kirk Voltman, 2 years, Lindsay Hanson, 2 years, and appointed February 26th of this year, Matt Dvorak and Lee Ruda. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Trustee Thompson, and again, thank you, everyone, for their service. It's much appreciated. Next up, we have Trustee O'Brien with the Environmental Quality Commission.
Thank you, President Kukler. The Environmental Quality Commission, or EQC, works to raise public awareness of environmental issues and makes related recommendations to the village board. This past year, the EQC continued to consider and support a wide range of sustainability initiatives under the Greenest Region Compact Framework, including probations on coal tar sealants, municipal aggregation of electrical power supply, green infrastructure for stormwater management, and other topics. A top priority in 2023 was developing a recommendation to target reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. The EQC evaluated and recommended adoption of a 2021 Chicago Region Climate Action Plan, which sets goals for reduction in greenhouse gas emissions as part of a regionally focused effort and plan. This regional approach leverages the actions and resources of participating communities and agencies. Continuing their commitment to public engagement, the EQC promoted an annual holiday light recycling event, collection of smoke detectors, native garden tour, partnered with LaGrange Park on a pumpkin recycling event, and attended a farmers market and West End Art Fest to further educate others on how sustainable actions can be incorporated into daily living and contribute towards continual improvements to the quality of life enjoyed within LaGrange. Their three-year terms of 15 members are Rose Nassif, who's been on the board for 10 years and current chairperson, Amanda LaMonica Weir, appointed 226 of 24, John Markovich, appointed 226 of 24, Juan Vinny Miguel, appointed 226 of 24, Ryan LeVar, 1 year, Dan Mullen, 2 years, Ali Bowe, 2 years, Madonna Walsh, 2 years, Akruka Leva, 3 years, Molly Mahoney, 3 years, Yana Speck, 3 years, Lori Braun, 5 years, Brandon Simic, 5 years, and Stan Narowecki, 5 years.
Thank you, Trustee O'Brien, and thank you to the EQC and their hard work. We really did appreciate the presentation earlier this year. It was fantastic. Continuing on, we have Trustee Gale with the Plan Commission.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm happy to serve as the liaison to the Plan Commission, and the Plan Commission reviews and recommends applications for special use permits, plan development approval, site plan approval, amendments to the zoning code, and official map, vacation of public rights-of-way, and subdivision plats. This is a particularly busy group, and over the last year, the Plan Commission conducted public hearings and recommended approval for larger development projects such as the reconstruction of the McDonald's at the corner of Grange and Ogden, in addition to our theater across the street here, site improvements at the Gray Hill facility at 561 West Hillgrove, and a new Chase Bank walk-up facility at the northeast intersection of Ogden and LaGrange Road, which project included rehabilitation of the existing downtown Chase Bank at 14 South LaGrange Road, also right across the street, which will include the first floor multi-tenant commercial with residential units above. The Plan Commission also reviewed special use permits for the Stretch Lab, the Tallgrass Sunbury School, and Uppers Land. Text amendments to allow changeable message signs at gas stations and allowing physical fitness facilities with limited retail space as a special use within C1 and C2 commercial districts as well. The Plan Commission has also served as a pivotal role as a steering committee for the ongoing LaGrange Forward Comprehensive Plan update, which we hope to have completed by the fall. And this experienced group includes Greg Pace for 15 years and his current chairperson, Peter O'Connor, who has served for 4 years, Susan Mosher, who has served for 5, Glenn Wentick, who has served for 7 years, Jeff Hoffenberg, who has served for 8, Dave Schwartz, who has served for 9, and then Julie Egan, who has served for 10 years.
Thank you, Trustee Gale, and thank you to the members of the Plan Commission. We have one of the things that they looked at on our agenda later tonight, so we know that it's a very busy commission. And moving on to Trustee Augustine, Zoning Board of Appeals.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Zoning Board of Appeals, or ZBA as we often refer to it, review applications for relief from one or more requirements of the village's zoning code, conducts public hearings, and makes recommendations to this Board of Trustees regarding those applications. Typical requests for zoning variations relate to front, side, and rear yard setbacks for single-family homes, building coverage for single-family homes, building coverage and setbacks for the replacement of detached garages, and similar considerations. Over the past year, the ZBA has heard and recommended approval of 4 applications for variations, one seeking relief from the required maximum building and lot coverage on a non-conforming property, one seeking relief from the front yard requirement to allow for an accessibility ramp, one seeking relief from signage requirements to allow additional signage on a commercial property, and one seeking relief from the front yard requirements to allow for construction of a shed. I was at all of those meetings this year. It was impressive and a pleasure certainly to watch them lead and do this important work. On this board is a 7-member board, 5-year term. Chairman and 14 years in is Michael Finder. Appointed just this year, just a couple of months ago, was Lauren Duvall. 1 year in is Julie Workman. Matthew Datillo is 1 year. Liam Bresnahan been on the board on this commission for 3 years. Bridget Sheehan, 3 years, and Paul Kerpan, 5 years.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine, and thank you for their hard work. We also have the Fire and Police Board, and for that, I would ask Fire Chief Dan Rita to maybe not do what's that? Oh, Director Mike is, I guess, with the microphone ready to stand in. So thank you. If you can introduce the 2 members. Nope.
Thank you. Just flashing back and forth. That's great. All right, my apologies for that. I'd like to introduce John Peterson and William O'Brien as the Fire Pension Board advisory members. The Fire Pension Board was established in accordance with Illinois state statute and monitors pension fund performance, reviews pension applications, evaluates disability claims, and other related items. John Peterson is one of 2 resident members of the 5-member Fire Pension Board. Mr. Peterson has served on the Fire Pension Board since June of 2015. William O'Brien is the 2nd resident member of the 5-member pension board, and Mr. O'Brien has served on the Fire Pension Board since October of 2020.
Thank you, Susie. And moving on to the Police Board, Police Chief Tim Griffin.
Thank you, President Kugler. I'd like to introduce John Mattern and John Peterson, Police Pension Board advisory members. The Police Pension Board was established in accordance with Illinois state statute and monitors pension fund performance, reviews pension applications, and evaluates disability claims and other related. John Peterson is one of two resident members of the 5-member Police Pension Board. Mr. Peterson has served on the Police Pension Board since June of 2022. John Mattern is the 2nd resident member of the 5-member Police Pension Board. Mr. Mattern has served on the board since July 2020.
Thank you very much, Chief. And thank you for everybody that served. We do appreciate it. You all do great work for the village, and the residents appreciate it also. The board also is responsible for board presentations and liaison assignments. Those have been renewed again this year, and they can be found in our packet on 2B.1. So moving on to one of the great things we get to do today, and that's recognition of Senior Account Clerk Cheryl Aquila for 18 years of dedicated service to the Village of LaGrange. And when you saw all the grandchildren that Cheryl and Chuck have, you can understand why she would be wanting to retire. So let me recognize Cheryl for all her great service. After 18 years of distinctive and dedicated service to the Village of LaGrange, Senior Account Clerk Cheryl Aquila will retire from her position on June 21. Cheryl began her career with the Finance Department as a part-time account clerk on September 25, 2006, providing front counter service in the Finance Department. She was promoted to the full-time account clerk on May 1, 2012, to perform utility billing in addition to front customer duties. In June of 2018, she became responsible for payroll and was promoted to senior account clerk. At each of these levels, she's demonstrated a willingness to take on new responsibilities and continue to learn and work outside of her comfort zone. And just has truly performed commendable tasks and show her fantastic traits. Cheryl has adeptly overseen new platforms throughout her tenure with the village. This includes effectively transitioning meter reads to Impressa Enhanced platform, along with converting the reading measurements from 100 cubic feet to cubic feet. She transferred employee payroll records, formerly stored on 3x5 index cards, into an electronic spreadsheet. Upon the village's successful integration into the Intergovernmental Personal Benefit Cooperative, the IPBC, she migrated all internal employee benefit data into the Benefit Solver platform. And just last year, she effectively transferred all data from the Benefit Solver to a new platform called Plan Source. So with that, I'd like to congratulate Cheryl on her retirement and thank you for 18 years of great service. So Cheryl, you can feel free to say anything. We do have Lou back, our former finance chief, Lou Ciparoni, and his right hand, Joe Marzullo. If anybody wants, and Susie, if anybody wants to say anything, feel free. But Cheryl.
I just want to thank the Village of LaGrange for becoming my work family. I started part-time, as you have already spoken about, and moved to full-time clerk, then to senior account clerk, processing water bills and payroll. Joe and Lou are back there, and Sandy. So great to work with, letting my daughter show up after being at LT High School and showing up after work and staying there till I left, letting my dog Riley come in the office in the afternoons after he got groomed. They've truly made me feel like family. And it continues with Susie Micah. She is a great addition to the village, and she is going to continue the finance family that I have felt through all these years. Thank you.
Thank you. Although we don't have it on the agenda today, from our fire department, Captain Tom Bensfield will be retiring, and we want to make sure that we wish him all the best, and we'll recognize him at an upcoming meeting. And also, Mike DeLillo from our Community Development Department is leaving to go to another village. So we wish him all the best in his future endeavors. Before moving on, I'd really like to express thanks to the organizers of the Pet Parade and their partnering organizations, as well as the village staff and the others that contributed to the 78th Annual Pet Parade on June 1. Surprisingly, we got a little damp. It never rains on Pet Parade, except in 2024. But it was amazing how many people lined the sidewalks, even in the rain. WGN came out, did a great job. If you haven't seen it or you didn't see it live, go on YouTube, and it really made the village look great. So I want to thank the LGBA, its volunteers, for another year of the carnival, which again was a success. A little low on the numbers on Saturday, but made up for by record crowds on Friday and Sunday. And really the village staff, it's a lot of work, the carnival and Pet Parade for all of our departments, from Public Works, Community Development, Police, and Fire. They were all active that weekend, and we appreciate all their hard work and great activity. Before I pass the microphone to Village Manager Knight, I will say that in our summer, we normally have canceled 2 meetings, the second meeting in July and the first meeting in August, and we are planning to do that again. The July meeting is scheduled for July 8th. So if that becomes a problem with our board or our department heads, we could look at rescheduling that to July 15th. So just let Jack or myself know if July 8th looks like it's problematic with vacation plans. With that, I would pass the microphone to Village Manager Knight.
Thank you, President Kugler, and good evening, everyone. First off, congratulations to Cheryl Akrilla on her retirement. We wish you all the best in retirement and enjoy those grandkids. There's one item listed tonight under the manager's report. That is the Village Code Comprehensive Update, Title I. Item A refers to this effort that kicked off in February of 2022 when the village board approved a contract for a comprehensive code update with Municode, a consultant in the field. The goal of the project is to develop a code that is more reflective of current day regulations and one that clearly articulates the values, requirements, and expectations of the community. The consultant has since drafted 2 draft updates and has been reviewed by staff at this point. Staff has provided input based upon modern regulations, best practices, and operational considerations, amongst other factors. The latest draft of Title I has been reviewed by staff, village attorneys, and now presented for village board consideration. The item has been prepared for consideration. It has a few attachments. That includes a table listing more substantial changes and a summary of the explanation of those changes. It also includes a clean copy of the code as well as a strike-through version to illustrate some of the changes that are being proposed. The purpose of the item as it's presented tonight is to capture the thoughts and input of the village board on the proposed update to Title I. The input will be incorporated into a final draft that will be presented to the board later this year, which is anticipated to be sometime in the fall. President Kugler, that concludes my report on this item. And again, at this time, we're just seeking village board feedback on the proposed Title I ordinance.
Thank you. And Jack, maybe you know, or Ben, how many titles will we be looking at? Do we have an idea?
Yes, we have 7 titles in total.
Okay.
This one is one of the shorter ones. There are some that are far more lengthy.
Okay, we're easing the board into it. And so I believe what the staff is hoping to have had accomplished is that the board would have reviewed Title I, and if they have any questions, we could have those addressed now. So starting with that, does anybody have any questions on any of the changes or any of the existence of Title I? Trustee Augustine.
Thank you, President Kugler. I don't have any tough questions, but I do have, because I think it was well done, and I'm glad to see that this is being done and look forward to the rest of it. But I learned a couple things here. I don't see this around too much, or do I just miss it? But that the official motto of LaGrange is tradition and pride moving forward. I like that. Also, and I don't know if I've ever heard it or if it exists somewhere, but I'd love to know, since we have an official song of the village, My LaGrange, the words and music which were written by local notable James Patrick Dunn for the 1979 LaGrange Centennial. A copy of the official song may be found on files in the office of the village clerk. So it's not online, it's in a file, just the words?
According to the code, yes.
Yeah. We may have to follow up with the remainders of the Dunn family and see if we can get an updated sing-along.
Yeah, we would intend to.
Yeah, I love that.
In the meantime, maybe our lawyer can lead us in the song? Do we have Milo?
The answer to that is no. It is legal liability. I get it.
Where's Milo when we need him? Maybe we can have Milo sing the song for us. He's our resident singer. Trustee Augustine, anything else? All right. I did get an email from a resident, and I owe a response to, and his email was regarding the village flag. And he said that he would love to purchase a village flag and in Fled. I thought that would be a great idea. I know Village Manager Knight was looking for some, and have we yet to find one, or are we still working on maybe having a contest to develop a new flag?
The one that we are aware of is right behind us here over my shoulder.
Oh, terrific.
That is the only one that we know to be in existence. So,
Well, maybe I'll stretch that out so the camera can see it.
We also discussed the flag at a CEDC meeting a few years ago when we were rebranding with the logo and talked about potentially redesigning it.
That's my Vanna White impersonation for the day. Okay. Trustee Gale.
Thank you, Mr.
Get back
President.
onto what we're doing here.
I also want to just commend the staff and Jack and Ben and everybody for working on this. This is something I've wanted to see us do for a long time as well. So I'm glad you guys are getting into it. And now that we're talking about the flag, like maybe we don't want to have like that. If that's the only one, that's very special. Like maybe like we don't want to have duplicates of it. So it's just one of a kind, like irreplaceable. Something to consider. But I'm very glad you guys we're doing this, and I think it's very important and a good resource for residents and something that we need to do. So, yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. Okay. Not seeing any further comments. Again, if anything comes up, we can always have the appropriate person and staff address those comments or concerns. And thank you to our staff and Attorney Schuster. I know it was a lot of work and continues to be a lot of work, and we appreciate your efforts. And we do look forward to the next steps in the someday brand new code. With that, Village Clerk Saladino, I request that you read the items on the consent agenda followed by current business.
Matters on the consent agenda will be considered by a single motion and vote because they already have been considered fully by the board at a previous meeting or have been determined to be of a routine nature. Any member of the Board of Trustees may request that an item be moved from the consent agenda to current business for separate consideration. Item A, annual appointment of village officials. Item B, an ordinance authorizing renewal of an aggregation program for electric load. Item C, minutes of the special joint meeting of the Village Board of Trustees, Board of Fire and Police Commissioners, Community and Economic Development Commission, Design Review Commission, Environmental Quality Commission, Plan Commission, and Zoning Board of Appeals, Wednesday, April 24th, 2024. Item D, minutes of the Village of LaGrange Board of Trustees meeting Monday, May 13th, 2024. Item E, consolidated voucher 240527. Item F, consolidated voucher 240610. Current business. This agenda item includes a consideration of matters being presented to the Board of Trustees for action. Item A, resolution endorsing the Climate Action Plan for the Chicago region. Item B, an ordinance approving a zoning code amendment for planned developments within the C4 Convenience Commercial District and a special use for a planned development, site plan, and design review permit for 811 to 901 West Hillgrove Avenue.
Thank you, Clerk Saladino. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda and a second?
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Gale.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Peterson. Is there any discussion regarding items on the consent agenda?
Yes, I do. Thank you, President Kugler. As previously stated, I recuse myself from voting on any agenda items related to our village prosecutor, and that usually pertains to our consolidated voucher item, but tonight we also have an annual appointment of village officials, and my brother is a long-serving village prosecutor here, so if anyone's ever wondered, that's why I recuse myself.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. Seeing no other questions or comments, I would ask Clerk Saladino for a roll call vote.
Can I have one?
Oh,
Sorry.
please.
I meant to say one more thing if I can. Item D in the minutes, can we vote on that next week? Would that hold us up at all? And Jack, I'm thinking about the concern one of our residents has about how she was noted in the minutes. Is that something we can amend later, or would it be okay to clarify how those remarks are?
The concern that was shared with us has been addressed in the minutes.
Okay.
So
It's updated in this one?
in those minutes, yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, good. Thanks. Sorry then.
Okay, with that, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Thompson.
Aye.
Trustee O'Brien.
Aye.
Trustee McGee. Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee Peterson.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Next, we're up for item A, and I would refer that to Trustee O'Brien.
Thank you, President Kugler. This is in regards to resolution endorsing the Climate Action Plan for the Chicago region. The Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, or MMC, a membership organization consisting of 275 cities, towns, and villages in the region, led the development of a Climate Action Plan for the Chicago region, or CAP. The plan encompasses goals to reduce future impacts and adapt to a changing climate. Municipal actions and decisions can evaluate ways to reduce greenhouse gas or GHG emissions and achieve adaptation to prepare for the impacts of a changing climate. The Environmental Quality Commission, EQC, has reviewed this framework and is in support of adopting the CAP as it aligns with and enhances the village's overall sustainability efforts. The benefits of adopting the CAP, including partnering with the MMC and other larger national agencies in working to measure regional greenhouse gas data, assess regional climate risk, and align efforts. Currently, 42 municipalities and counties have endorsed the CAP through resolution. The CAP sets science-based mitigation targets for greenhouse gas emissions reduction, and equitable climate adaptation targets. Although the plan is regional in scope, strategies in the plan are specifically tailored for action at the municipal scale. The EQC presented a review of the CAP to the village board on April 22nd, 2024. The EQC recommends a resolution to endorse the 2021 Climate Action Plan for the Chicago region. The resolution provides access to a regional framework that has additional resources to track and measure regional progress towards these goals. Upon adoption, the EQC would include related goals into their 2024 work plan and measure and report progress as part of their annual review. The Climate Action Plan, along with the Greenest Region Compact 2, guides implementation of well-established best practices in sustainability and would inform the consideration of policies in both sustainability and greenhouse gas emissions reduction. Staff has reviewed the specifics of the Climate Action Plan and finds there is alignment with current efforts, with endorsement of the plan standing to increase the effectiveness of sustainability efforts. Staff recommends approval of a resolution endorsing the Climate Action Plan for the Chicago region, and I'm in agreement.
So you're moving?
I move to recommend the approval of the resolution.
And any
I'll
second?
second.
I'm sorry, who's second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. Before we have any discussion, I've heard from my right, I've heard from my left, I've heard from the audience that I skipped public comments. So in case there's any public comments on this item, I would invite public comments now on any items that are on our agenda. Please.
Hello? There we go. My name is Tim Penrod. I live at 543 Blackstone. My question concerns the Climate Action Plan. Just reading this, to me, it seems like there's a lot of open-ended commitments and a lot of platitudes. And I want to know if the village has done anything to assess what commitments to this plan is going to cost the village and what it's going to cost individuals. I mean, like these mitigation goals, they're fine, but it says reduce 50% by 2030. How are we going to do that? It says mitigation objectives, decarbonize energy sources. How are we going to do that? Decarbonize transportation. How are we going to do that? It just seems like this is very open-ended. Nobody's done, as far as I know, any cost-benefit analysis on this. So I'm just wondering what the impact is going to be on the village taxpayers.
Thank you, Mr. Conrad, and I can tell you that I don't think we've done a comprehensive study of if we were to achieve all the goals, how much it would cost in dollars and cents. However, when we do individual things, we always look at what is the cost. An example is we're doing paver blocks and next to at lot 3, which is the parking lot next to the Elm. And there's a substantial cost increase to do paver blocks versus asphalt. And we looked at that. We were able to obtain a grant from MWRD that, for the most part, offsets the additional costs for the village. Just recently, we went out for purchase of electricity. And there were different, and maybe village manager Knight could give more of the detail, but there were different plans, and we elected one that had, I believe, less of a negative environmental impact, and there was a cost of that. But maybe you could give some more background.
Yeah, correct. So on the consent agenda, item B refers to that municipal aggregation program. Through that program, we're able to aggregate the purchasing power of our residents. Residents don't pay any additional costs for electricity. However, we are able to go out to market, realize some savings. With those savings, we do purchase RECs, so renewable energy credits. So that's one example of several where we would look for options where we can reduce our environmental footprint without a cost to our residents.
Sure.
If you sign on to this plan, does the village have the right to disavow any requirement that this whole plan, if we disagree with it and maybe the rest of the villages don't, can we set aside something in that? Or are we committed to everything that they do?
We definitely are not committed to everything that they do. It's a goal to do certain of these things, but we're not committed to it. The microphone.
My name is Guy Vorsanger, and I own a building at 913 Hillgrove, and I wanted to address the 811 to 901 West Hillgrove development. I'm all for development in this town. I love LaGrange. I think it should be done responsibly. Putting a 4-story apartment building up, 31 apartments, only 30 parking spaces, first floor commercial, no parking on the street. I think that's a little irresponsible, and I just wanted to voice my opinion.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for those comments. With that, we'll go back to the current business, item A, which a motion was made and a second. So I'll open that up for any questions or comments. Seeing none, I would have a roll call on item A.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee McGee. Trustee Peterson.
Aye.
Trustee Thompson.
Aye.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee O'Brien.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Now moving on to item B, which is the Hillgrove property. I would move that to Trustee Gale.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is an ordinance to allow a zoning code amendment to allow floor area ratio adjustments for the planned development within planned developments within the C4 commercial district, and then also an ordinance approving a special use for a planned development, site plan, and design review permit for 811 to 901 West Hillgrove Avenue. So I'll do the introduction and then the motion. So 817 to 821 West Hillgrove LLC is the applicant. And they are the property owner of 817 to 821 West Hillgrove Avenue, as well as contract purchaser for both 811 West Hillgrove and 901 West Hillgrove. The applicant is seeking to construct a 4-story mixed-use building at the property commonly known as 811 to 901 West Hillgrove Avenue. The applicant is seeking four things. They are requesting a special use for a planned development, site plan approval, and a design review permit. The applicant is also seeking approval to amend the zoning code as it relates to the maximum adjustments of floor area ratio for planned developments within C4. The project proposes a 4-story mixed-use building with approximately 4,400 square feet of first-floor commercial space underneath 31 residential units. The building provides a mix of residential unit types, proposing 3 studio, 19 one-bedroom, and 9 two-bedroom units. Each residential unit will have a balcony, and all units will have access to a shared roof deck. The site plan includes 30 surface level parking spaces to the north of the building, 14 of which are primarily located below the building's 2nd to 4th floors, and they'll be accessed from an adjacent public alley. The applicant is also proposing a curb cut on Hillgrove Avenue, to provide access to a 6-car interior parking garage. Replacement of pavers and installation of planter boxes and landscaping along Hillgrove right-of-way adjacent to the development is also proposed. All portions of the alley abutting the development will be resurfaced. As mentioned, the applicant is seeking a text amendment as well to section 5-110F10 of the zoning code, which states that no increase of the maximum FAR is allowed in the C4 district. The applicant is proposing a maximum FAR adjustment to 2.0 for the planned development. The public hearing of the application was opened by the Plan Commission on April 9th, 2024, and ultimately continued to May 14th, 2024. At the April meeting, commissioners requested additional engineering analysis of potential impacts to the public sewer infrastructure, as well as additional traffic analysis. Commissioners requested consideration of revising facade materials to complement surrounding buildings and the Stone Avenue Metro Station, reducing the height of the elevator shaft of the building, and adding windows to the rear elevation of the building, which is on the north. The Plan Commission also requested the applicant to address village staff's suggested conditions within their April memo, which is included in our packet and online. A total of 13 residents spoke at the hearing, the majority stating concerns with the proposed development's height. The facade design, potential impacts to public infrastructure, traffic, and parking. Others praised the development for either contributing to the diversification of the village's housing stock or for its supporting long-term community goals for developing and revitalizing the West End. The public hearing was concluded by the Plan Commission on May 14th, 2024. The applicant presented revised building heights, facade materials, and architectural design. Staff presented the results of supplemental engineering and traffic analysis at that meeting as well. Resident comment at the meeting concerned the development's potential traffic generation as well as existing parking conditions, along with concern that the new development would exacerbate those conditions. Residents also expressed opposition to the overall building height and density. The applicant noted changes to the building design and how the facade of the building is articulated to provide relief, with each end being 2 stories taller than its immediate neighbor. The applicant also noted that the project will result in a reduction in total commercial demand for public parking as compared to the existing condition, and shared that they felt the project was consistent with others in and along the BNSF corridor and serves to support the established community vision for the area. The Plan Commission was supportive of the revised plans and reiterated the importance of revitalizing the West End. Commissioners noted the modifications through the plan development process can provide flexibility to code requirements to achieve goals outlined in the community. Commissioners felt the development could serve as a catalyst for the area and affirmed the results of the technical analysis that was done. After deliberation, the Plan Commission voted 6-0 to recommend the application with the following conditions. Parking spots should be allocated, number 1, parking spots should be allocated per lease. Number 2, within the parking garage, all parking spaces except the 2 most northwest parking spaces must be restricted to compact vehicles. Snow must be removed from the site and not stored on the property. The photometric plan must be revised to comply with the village zoning code, and a plat of consolidation must be submitted. Staff worked with the village attorney in developing the attached ordinances. The applicant has agreed to comply with the conditions of the Plan Commission, which have been incorporated in the attached ordinance approving the plan development, site plan, and design review permit. And our staff recommends approval of the attached ordinances as reflective of the recommendations of the Plan Commission. And then, Attorney Schuster, can I make one motion for both pieces, or we are going to vote on the ordinances separately. So we're going to vote on the ordinances. So I should, which one do we take first? Do we take or does it matter?
I would suggest the text amendment first,
Okay.
because unless that is adopted, the plan development ordinance cannot be adopted.
Very good. So first I will move for, hold on, let me make sure I get the right one here. An ordinance approving a zoning code amendment. So move to amend the zoning code to allow floor area ratio adjustments for planned developments within the C4 convenience commercial district, and we'd be changing it from 1 to 2.0.
So I'm looking for a motion to change the zoning code floor area ratio from 1 to 2.0.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Gale and Trustee Peterson. Before we begin, can either Ben or Deputy Village Manager Jones explain what FAR is and what it means to go from 1 to 2?
Sure. So floor area ratio is a measurement of bulk on a property. So an FAR of 1 could be a 1-story building covering 100% of the lot, or a 2-story building covering 50% of the lot, or a 3-story building covering a third of the lot. So it's just a relation of the total square footage of the building to the total square footage of the property.
So can we assume that if it's 2.0, it's covering 200% or a total of 200%?
So it could be the full lot size, 2 stories, or more akin to this development, about half of the lot and about 4 stories.
And for this, I know that it'll be the next vote, but what is the FAR as proposed?
The FAR for this project is 1.99, I think.
Okay.
It's just under the 2.
Okay. And I know that our code said that the FAR could never exceed 1, and that wasn't even something like we could do a variance on, right?
So what the actual text amendment is allowing an increase in FAR in the C4, for planned developments. So currently in the code, the way the ordinance reads, one of the things that can be varied through the plan development process is adjusting the maximum floor area ratio. And it specifies for different districts to what extent the village board can grant a floor area ratio adjustment. In the C4, the zoning code limits the board's discretion to grant floor area ratio adjustments through the plan development process. This text amendment would allow the board to grant a floor area ratio adjustment up to 2.0.
Okay. Thank you. I do have some comments, but I'll wait till hear from the trustees. Trustee Gale.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have comments, but I'll just break out the FAR one because that's what we're talking about now. It really struck me as interesting that this particular area has this particular restriction, that you cannot go above 1.0 in the C4 area. And I noted that because, it seems intentional. Like you can do it in other spots, but you can't do it here, which means to me that when we thought through, the board, not us personally, but this board thought through where to put these zoning requirements, they specifically did not want to allow increased dense and bulk in that particular area. So that concerns me if we're going to allow it to go from 1 to 2. I get that with the text amendment, we're not saying this development goes from 1 to 2, but I think that there was an intentional choice here to keep this less bulky in this smaller commercial area. So I'm not in favor of it.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. Trustee Thompson.
Charity, how old is that code?
This particular provision, I don't know if it's in the original 1996 version of the code or if it was amended at some point along the way. It hasn't been amended in the time that I've worked here.
So we agreed to a comprehensive plan back in 2005 that suggests, and it's also the BNSF quarter plan, that says in this C4 district, we will bring in high density housing. We are in this process of doing a new comprehensive plan. The Regional Transportation Board has come to us and asked for us to bring in higher density housing. And we just signed a pact to complete with all this environmental stuff. As the citizen asked, what are we committing to? We're actually committing to bring in higher density housing to reduce transportation miles, reduce energy, reduce carbon. And if we don't make these changes, we're never going to achieve that, because the C4 business district is the area where you need to have high density housing along the railroad tracks. I don't think in 1996 the board was ever thinking about anything about what was going to come, but this is the way the BNSF railroad corridor is being developed. And I know of 2 other developers that are looking at very similar lots, and if this rule isn't changed, those 2 developments also will go away, and we will have no development on the west end. So if we as a village want to begin to develop the west end, vacant lots currently, we have to make these changes, or we're just going to have vacant property sitting there drawing very little taxes and never have any more increased housing. And for the League of Women Voters, never have a chance to have affordable housing be built in LaGrange. So for me, I support this completely.
Thank you, Trustee Thompson. Any other comments? You do?
Thank you, President Kukler. Figure I'll kind of give my statement here as well, because if this doesn't pass, then the second part doesn't matter so much. This is, hang on a second. Peggy, can you hear me? Okay, because sometimes you can't, and you get mad at me after these meetings. More than 2 years ago, I was invited to be a part of a pre-application meeting with this applicant. They came in to discuss their idea before moving forward. In this meeting was our community development staff, police chief, fire chief, chairman of the Plan Commission, President Kukler, and possibly a few others. It's a kick the tires before moving forward kind of meeting. And the applicant came in to find out if their plans were in line with our codes and standards and ordinance and that kind of thing. It's this kind of thing, it was my first and only so far, that kind of pre-application meeting, and I think it's a great thing that we offer. Certainly can save everyone a lot of time and aggravation. But in this particular pre-application meeting, it seemed to me that most everything was understood, and the meeting seemed to go well, and now tonight, I get to vote on it. For me, this is the first planned residential development that have come across since I've, again, as I said, been here, and I've been here for just going on 5 years now, here on this board. But I have curiously followed and watched quite a few development projects unfold. In the process, from Plan Commission to Village Board, no single development was a slam dunk. All had strong residential pushback and/or commissioner concerns. Many had contentious moments, and some were frankly hard to watch. But they were full of lessons for future me, from the Beds development to 40 South Ashland to Uptown, Jackson Square, and then most recently, I think if I have my order right, Mason Point. There was a great deal of concern for all of these developments at the time that they were discussed. Residents concerned about the problems it could create were there, and they expressed their interests. In the end, all but one were eventually built and seemed to be serving us fairly well. The generation before these developments that have happened in, say, the last 5 to 7 years, were part of, many of them, our TIF, our tax increment financing phase. The Triangle project that we know of, some of us remember the Borders bookstore, and now it's AT&T, but Trader Joe's, I think Illinois was LaGrange had the second Trader Joe's in Illinois right there, and it's still there. And then we built that tall, tall building behind it. And that was a new big development, but it wasn't around too many residential neighborhoods, and that probably got some decent support. And then shortly thereafter, 2 new large but less tall developments at Kensington, right by the tracks, just north and just south of the tracks, are 2 huge developments in LaGrange. There's a big condo building on Ashland, just south of the tracks, facing the Calendar lot. I think those structures are fairly massive in scale, certainly relative to what we had seen in LaGrange before. Some of them right alongside homes, others replacing old retail parcels, one replacing an old car dealership. These developments were no doubt also met with disapproval from some, but all projects eventually went through the same process for approval that we have today. And as it turns out, they seem to fit in quite well. So what I see here tonight with this new project is nothing new. And I did attend the first of the 2 Plan Commission meetings because I think this is very important. The neighbors there were very passionate, had some very legitimate concerns, and certainly fears that this may disaffect their quality of life if it is approved tonight. Only time will tell, but this town has had a great track record on this. LaGrange has been careful and considerate in their review of developments. They ask for improvements in any number of areas and only approve the project when they have met those standards. In my opinion, the Plan Commission has been in no hurry or under no obligation to recommend any development. But when they do, those seem to have been very well thought through. As an elected official, I see firsthand the importance of healthy growth and how it adds value to our town as we grow. We are obviously landlocked, so opportunities are few and far between, but opportunities are there. No one out there seems to be screaming for more retail. We've got a good deal of that and some vacancies in those spaces, but homes, condos, and apartments do very well here. Thanks to a number of things, our great shops, our restaurants, our reputation for school safety, and an exceptional sense of community. So when I saw that the Plan Commission, upon further review and changes from the applicant, voted 6-0 to recommend this plan, that carried a lot of weight for me. So I am inclined to support both of the items on the agenda tonight for this development.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. Just, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. I neglected to say that the applicants are here if anybody has any questions. I forgot to add that. I think everybody knew that, but I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out.
And that may come up more in the second one than the first, is my guess. But if the applicant wants to speak now, I'm fine with that. Sure, no problem. Take your time.
My name is Tim Foley. I'm the attorney for the petitioner. I just wanted to speak briefly on the issue of FAR. We talked about the dates of the code. I think it's important to point out, though, the comprehensive plan that was approved and adopted in 2005 makes clear that that the village wanted to develop the West End. And I just want to read, it's in the various addenda that I filed, but I just want to read one small portion. This is from the comprehensive plan. The village's planning process established that the West End should reposition itself in the market and intensify with new mixed-use development. This would largely consist of retail uses on the first floor with residential uses above. Accomplishing this objective will require relaxing parking requirements in the West End zone. I think implied also is the idea was that they'd have to build higher buildings as well to accommodate the commercial uses on the first floor and residential on the upper floors. And I think one thing I just want to, and this can come up later, but just remind everybody that the height of the building, the majority of it is 43 feet. All residents will occupy a space 43 feet or below. So, and we can address that further, but I believe that when the village adopted the comprehensive plan in 2005, it envisioned this. And I think the fact that they envisioned mixed-use development, that's exactly what our client brought to the village. And I think it's consistent with that. So that's all I have to say for now, but I'm glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Attorney Foley. We appreciate it. We appreciate your efforts in this regard. With that, any other trustee comments? I'll be very brief. I have a concern on the FAR going from 1 to 2. I personally can live with 2. I don't vote unless it's a tie anyway, but to give my opinion, I can live with a 2, but I don't know that I could live with higher than a 2. And this is really more directed towards the Plan Commission or future developers that say, boy, they seem pretty quick to switch from 1 to 2. We probably can get them to go from 2 to 4. And that to me is a step too far. I'd really like to see how we do at 2 and see how it's incorporated within the village and what problems, if any, develop. And the way I'm able to get from 1 to 2 has what Trustee Thompson alluded to or stated. We do have several members of the League of Women Voters here who advocate for affordable housing, and affordable housing has different definitions. But one of the definitions clearly is a mix of housing units. This project, and part of the reason of going from a FAR of 1 to a FAR of 2 is because there's going to be smaller units than traditionally are in LaGrange. That is giving renters another option that they don't have today. And that is one of the things that we have residents advocating for. And so that's where I personally line up on it. And with that, I would ask Clerk Saladino for a roll call vote.
Trustee Augustine.
That's still just one vote.
Just one, right?
Trustee O'Brien.
Aye.
Trustee Thompson.
Aye.
Trustee McGee. Trustee Peterson.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
No.
And that passes 5-1. And with that, we have the introduction of the second ordinance.
So yes, I'll simply make the motion again. So we already went through the presentation. So this is an ordinance approving a special use for a planned development site plan and design review permit for 811 to 901 West Hillgrove Avenue. So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Gale and Trustee O'Brien. Before I open it up to the trustees, I do want to, because we had a person indicate that there's 31 units with only 30 parking spots. That did not include the 6 indoor spots. So there's 31 residential units plus the commercial units, but 36, I believe, is the number of parking spots. And I will be asking some questions about the Commonwealth Edison current transformer station and what the developer, if anything, is willing to do if that becomes available for sale. But I'll first open it up to trustee comments. Trustee Gale.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll say my piece and then be done. So I want to thank the applicant for the time, effort, and energy. You know, I work in the development area as well, and I know it's a lot of time, money, and energy to go through these various processes before you've even turned a shovel in the ground. I also want to thank the residents that came out at different meetings to express their views. Democracy is in a lot of ways a conversation, and the way we resolve issues is we have discussions and meetings and take votes, and then we move forward. So I think this plan development is certainly a vision of things to come. You know, we as Trustee Augustine even said, we have approved density. We need density. It's going to be something we have to do. But I also don't think these developments are all or nothing propositions. A development needs to fit our standards. It needs to fit, it needs to fit the location. And so when I think about these kind of projects, I go right into the numbers. It tends to be how I consider them. And so we've already talked about the FAR. But another concern I have with this particular proposal is that this is broadly speaking, but I don't see setbacks here for this building. It's right up to the sidewalk, lot line to lot line on the sides. I think with the 4-story height, it's going to be quite an imposing structure for the area. Also, it never seems to get a lot of coverage, but the lot area per dwelling, it's going to be about 660. Which is, I think, about as dense as we've ever approved, which is a measure of how many people are going to be in that space. And then we talked about the FAR, and look, I'm okay with softening the FAR. Again, I think this is a vision of things to come. I just do think that it's quite telling that in this area, this was prohibited from going beyond 1.0. And while I appreciate the comprehensive plan is more of a goal. Right? The code is when we actually approve what it's going to be in what place. And I think that's influential for me. So, and finally, I'll turn to, I sat through the Plan Commission hearings. I saw all the residents come and talk. And when people come and they express their views and they are strongly, in opposition to something, that's the in-person representation of these numbers. If this had setbacks, if this were shorter, if this were squeezed in on the side, I wouldn't have any issue with this, but I think it just goes a little too far. I think it's going to have an impact on the adjacent properties and the character of the area, and so I can't support it as it's presented.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. Trustee Peterson.
I do also want to thank the Plan Commission, and I want to thank the staff, and I also attended the Plan Commission meeting, and listened to the residents come on out, and I was very respectful of their opinions. But I also looked into the existing comprehensive plan and the draft of the new comprehensive plan that has LaGrange Forward that's going to be coming out. And I have to say that I do think that the Plan Commission and staff worked to address most of the issues that were brought up. And I also think that this development is in alignment with the existing comprehensive plan and the new draft that's coming up. So I will be voting to support the development.
Thank you, Trustee Peterson. Trustee Thompson.
And I appreciate the developer coming out and working on this. I appreciate the village staff, planning commission, and the developer all working together to make changes as we built this complex. And there's been a lot of debate between the the trustees on this issue, and I was reminded, as I was talking to Trustee McGee this afternoon, a couple of months ago, I called an Uber in Dallas, Texas, up to Frisco, Texas, and the Uber driver just happened to say, "Where are you coming from?" I said, "I'm coming from Chicago." He said, specifically, he said, "Where?" I said, "I'm coming from LaGrange." He goes, "Oh, I grew up in LaGrange." He said, "I'm a Far East Side guy." I said, "Oh, you know Shawana McGee and Russell Davenport?" He goes, "Certainly do." He said, "My family grew up with them. We're both all four-generation people." He said, "I got to move back to LaGrange when they built uptown LaGrange. Having those apartments there gave me a chance to be able to afford to live in LaGrange." Now, unfortunately, except for his parents, the rest of the families moved to Texas to avoid Illinois taxes. But he said he really enjoyed having those apartments available. He said, and that was the one thing, if there was more here, more children like him would move into town because they can't afford to buy a home, but it gives them a chance to live in an area like LaGrange and enjoy the downtown area. And it always stuck out with me, just a chance Uber ride with a kid who actually moved here because he could finally afford to live here. So this is giving affordable options to people to live here. It is the planned area. As far as the setbacks go, there are no setbacks on the current property. The thing I like about this, and the developer, they put in flood control, bigger flood control than is needed for the property, and for an area that has no flood control that suffers greatly from flooding. So I'm actually happy to see this come in because it's probably going to help the flooding in the area for all those homeowners that are around it, where that water's just not going to head to the backs and head out to the tracks and flood that area out. I remember Marie Newman, when she was a congressman, saying how the railroad track at that area was completely underwater and unpassable, and that's exactly what she was talking about. So you imagine how deep that was in June of 2021 to be over the railroad tracks at Brainerd. So anything to pull water in and do that. So this site development has really had a lot of thought go into it, changed the look of it to make it match the neighborhood more. So again, I appreciate village staff, the planning commission, and the developer working with us. So I fully support this development. Hope it moves forward.
Thank you, Trustee Thompson. Trustee McGee.
I have to say that I also have spent a lot of time going over this proposal. I have lived in LaGrange my entire life, and I was initially against putting up a 4-story building. It's sad that I have to say I have not been on the West End in maybe 40 years. I've always loved LaGrange, and I've had no reason to actually go down that far. And I would always cross Brainerd and make a right, and never went back that way. And so when I first started reading the proposal, I was very confused as to exactly where the design, what space they were talking about. And so I decided to just take a journey over there just to look at it. And I'm happy to say that once I got there and saw exactly where it was going to be, I thought it would be an asset to the community. But the thing that concerns me is the fact that I saw the 30 parking spaces. And I remember several months ago, a gentleman came to one of our meetings, and he had just rented an apartment on Bluff. And he said he only had 1 parking space, but he needed 2. And I also live next to a small apartment building, and the tenants often have that problem, parking. And LaGrange has a huge parking problem here. And so my concern is that what are you going to do for those tenants that actually need 2 parking spaces?
And so that's a question, I think. Thank you. And just if you could introduce yourself too.
Hi, I'm Adam Cadillos. I'm the applicant, and so it will be 36 parking spots, so and 31 units. So there will at least be 1 parking spot per unit. Our thought is that it's right off the train line there, and some people might need no parking spots, possibly 1, and there will be extra parking spots as well. I know LaGrange is looking into doing something for parking in the overall area, for different business owners and unit owners. This is just what the project is. I actually lived at Uptown Apartments for a couple years, and there was people there that had no parking spots, that used the train every day, some that had one. I don't know the percentage. I could probably try to inquire, because I did live there, but of people that actually needed two. I think it was majority of residents that were living there, needed one. So I think the parking across the Grange is an issue. And, we worked different sizes of this building, over time. At one point it was 5 stories and 42 parking spots, and it went down to 4 stories and 36 parking spots. And really, it's not a big development overall, so the economics just really don't work if it's much smaller. So we believe that there will be sufficient parking for the building. So.
Okay, thank you.
Let me, before you, I'm not going to let you sit down with you suggesting that LaGrange is going to do something for the parking. What I don't want to have happen is in a couple of years you come, because we've had people that we've told them you're not addressing parking when you build this building, and then they come and say, what have you done for me to solve my parking problem? So we're not planning to build a parking deck or anything up that way. And so, this needs to be understood. Yeah. You're building this. Your commercial business will have no dedicated parking for an employee or for a customer. And your units, as it is now, are 36. Maybe we can address the Commonwealth Edison that may bring in 9 more spots, but that's what we're dealing with today.
Yes, sir, and I'm sorry if I misspoke. I was speaking to the area in general, just as to the commercial, concerns over there from other business owners about the parking, not to the residential. We believe that our 36 spots for 31 units is sufficient, and we had a parking study that noted that as well. And that, Tim, do you have anything else you want to add?
I think that it covers it well. The parking study indicated a 1-to-1 ratio for residential. And then you also have the group of, I can't think of the traffic engineers. They had to, I think they were one.
KLOA came out.
Well, KLOA did the study. They indicated 1-to-1, but there's also a national group that indicated when a residential unit is in close proximity to public transportation, that the rate would be 1.14, and our client is providing 1.16, so he exceeds that.
Can you address the Commonwealth Edison property?
I can. We're working hard on that, and I appreciate Charity Jones, her input as well. I think we will get there. My understanding is they are going to retire that substation. I was able to locate some old leases. So ComEd many years ago leased that area for parking. So there is a precedent for it. I think the issue is, when are they going to remove the equipment? And but we definitely want to be on top of that.
Right. I mean, to me, it seems that when you look at that property, and it's my understanding it's going to be decommissioned within a year, the highest and best use would be parking for this development. And we're at least I'm kind of taking you on faith that when that becomes available, you'll use reasonable judgment, but best efforts to obtain it. Because if it becomes undeveloped, if you guys don't purchase it or lease it, then nobody will, and then we're in a real problem.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, if it becomes available, we plan to lease it. It would improve, it would just make the situation better, improve the value of the building, and be able to offer even additional parking. So we do plan to move forward if that becomes available.
Thank you. Trustee McGee.
Yeah, and you know, I think given the unit sizes and everything, you know, we don't believe that it will be a problem. You know, I live in LaGrange. I live a few blocks from there. You know, I lived in Uptown LaGrange for a number of years as well. I put a lot of thought and effort into this, and I wouldn't want to put something up in LaGrange that wasn't sufficiently parked or something that was going to cause future problems or something that I wasn't proud of. So I believe that it'll be sufficient.
If I could just add, one of the conditions of approval is that the parking spaces will be assigned to the residents. And I think that's important because you won't have a case where everybody's, you know, trying to race to get a parking space. If you have a second car and you don't have an assigned space, you're going to have to find a place to park that vehicle. And our client, you know, accepted that condition is certainly reasonable.
Thank you. Trustee Augustine.
Thank you, President Kukler. Yeah, a couple things. Parking is a huge issue in the village. We're always addressing it. Central Business District, West End, everywhere. We could use more, but we certainly don't want to be, the town just builds parking garages every couple of years. So we're trying to be creative in that, but that's certainly right behind infrastructure, and flooding is certainly one of the most important issues, because if we're going to grow and we're going to do these things with developments, then we will need some more space. So I hope that between the comprehensive plan and future meetings and conversations amongst the commissions, that we start talking about unique ways to solve the problem, because we can't grow, I think, without solving that problem a bit. And then Shawana touched on something else I wanted to mention, which is proximity. I think probably a big reason you're developing where you're developing is because it's not just close to the train station. I can imagine people living there, like the people in Uptown, need to take the train. So they're probably not going to contribute to traffic congestion in the morning when the schools are coming through, and in the evening when people are coming home. That's just an assumption I'm making, but it helped me, you know, it helps me to know that that's probably the case. But they're close to shopping, really great shopping, and restaurants. They can walk everywhere, and it's a wonderful community. So that is why they're living across the train. You know, I mean, it'll be a little bit loud. I grew up a couple of blocks from the train. You get used to it, but it's people who are going to rent here and the people who buy on the tracks. Sure, they want to just live in LaGrange, and maybe that's one of the reasons, but I think it is because they want to walk around. They want the ease of leaving their car or not having a car and being able to get around. And with Ubers, you know, there's not as much need for a car. So that certainly helped me. And what I did want to mention is just kind of on a larger scale, that what this project has succeeded in doing, if nothing else, is putting land use development as it relates to the vision for LaGrange front and center. How we should approach it in our new comprehensive plan will be important. And so this development, I think, couldn't have come at a better time, because it's created a lot of real-life conversation for us as we go forward and lock some of these things up. But we do need to discuss in future developments how we incorporate affordable housing, and I hope that as it continues to come up tonight, will continue to come up in the days to come, and we really do something about it. But thanks again for bringing this development to our attention.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. Trustee Gale.
Thanks. I just had a quick question for Charity. C4, is this, I seem to recall in the packet, is this the only area that has C4, or is that sprinkled throughout the village?
No, C4 is really isolated just in this small portion of the far west end.
Okay, so it's just here. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. One of the questions that I had is maybe for our legal counsel or for Attorney Foley, and that's this development with the balconies that hang over our sidewalk. Do we have any liability if somebody's walking and somebody drops something off a balcony, things like that?
The balconies are recessed and don't hang over the sidewalk.
So none of the balconies will be
Correct.
Over our property. That answers that. Perfect. So the last thing I had was to, again, thank the applicant for coming out. We do appreciate the investment in LaGrange. We appreciate your history of living in LaGrange and really wanting to make this a good project. I've heard reports from Deputy Village Manager Jones along the way about how you've been receptive to staff's ideas to make this really a better project than when it came in. So we appreciate that. But I also want to thank the residents for coming out. I live close to them, and I know that their concerns, although it may seem like we didn't address their concerns, this project has developed and has changed and is better fit for that area. The board has heard your concerns. The Plan Commission did work to make some of those things occur. And that, I'd like to thank the Plan Commission. It's hard work to look at these projects and do your best to make these projects top projects. And I would also like to thank staff. It was a lot of hours of everybody that's here and people that were with us in the past that have gone on to other departments. But they've worked hard for this, and I appreciate all of that. So with that being said, I would ask for a roll call vote.
Trustee Thompson.
Aye.
Trustee Peterson.
Aye.
Trustee McGee. Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee O'Brien.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
No.
And that passes 5-1. Congratulations, and we're looking forward to seeing a great project.
There's no more? Okay.
We are now at the point of the meeting to ask if anyone in the audience has comments not on the agenda, and as our favorite resident, Steve Palmer, makes it up, I will tell you I bit my tongue as these talks about living so close to the railroad. Hopefully Stone Avenue won't be losing any stops as we're building this property around it. We need more stops at Stone Avenue. But maybe that's for a different hat.
I would come back and represent Metro for you at any time, but right now I'm here as the co-chairman and part of the Grange Pet Parade. For 78 years, this parade has happened in our town, and it couldn't have happened without the support of this village board and the entire village. It's technically known as a privately funded parade. It can't even come close without the support of the village and what happens. And not only our village, but the villages who cooperate and work with us. I will tell you that over the last few years, we've seen issues happen with other towns and other parades that have been horrific, and we all know that. The work that this village and your professional staff has put into making this parade safe is beyond what you would know and what we should all know. But let me tell you that it's there. So I want to obviously thank our fire department for the amazing services they had out there. Unfortunately, we didn't need any of them that day, so that's great. I want to thank our community development department for working so diligently with us and making things happen, and especially Deputy Village Manager Charity Jones for her hard work, not only for the parade itself, but being on the committee and advising us throughout the year. State, county, Forest Reserve, BNSF, Metra, Hotchkiss, McCook, Countryside, Western Springs, LaGrange Park, Riverside, Brookfield, Forest View, Willow Springs, Broadview, Indian Head Park, Chicago, and I don't think I got them all, police departments came out to support our parade. That's amazing. That was part of what kept us safe. The plans that they had and how they operate, we don't need to discuss, but let me tell you that I was extremely impressed being the liaison working with the police department, and I want to especially give a shout out to Ken Ura, our deputy police chief, for the amazing job that Ken did. I've been part of the public safety end of this parade for the last 20 years. I have not worked with anybody on the police department side that has the credentials and has done the work that Ken Ura did to make sure this parade was safe. So special recognition for him in that effort and the entire effort of our first responder community. What an amazing group, and we are so thankful. The unsung heroes of the parade, Department of Public Works, is amazing. This group not only makes sure the parade route's cleaned up before and after, they're running electricity, they're doing all sorts of things, they're putting up barricades. They're part of our safety also, with dump trucks full of sand and salt and things that put at different areas so a car can't drive down the street. There's so many things that Public Works does. They're out there at 6 o'clock in the morning that day. Usually Russell and I take our drive the day before the entire parade route, check the trees, check things if anything needs to be trimmed, because those fire trucks might have kids on top and things like that. But all the things that is done by the Department of Public Works is so thankful, and I don't know that everybody sees them and what they do, but they are amazing. The rain of the parade, I'm going to blame on the village president.
I'll take it.
But hopefully, things
I'll
will
guarantee
continue.
it never will happen again.
I think the testament, though, to the parade was the fact at 6:15 in the morning, as I drive the parade route in, seeing people putting up chairs, putting up tents, doing all sorts of things. And I'm not talking 5 or 10 people. I'm talking hundreds of people out there at 6:15 in the morning to get their spots saved. Says something about our town and our community. That entire parade did go off. The only act that really didn't get to perform in the parade was the Shannon Rovers, because they couldn't do it with the weather. I definitely want to acknowledge Lindsay Pan Paulus, who is the president of Pets and Pals Charities, who was in charge of fundraising and keeping this parade going. Bob and Susan Breen, who are part of the founding family and who work so diligently with us all the time, and our parade coordinator, Molly Price. Next year's parade 79. We're getting ready for 80, which we plan on having a huge celebration. But at the end of the day, it's just the time that we all got together and had a little sense of community for a day, even in the rain, was very special. So thank you for your support.
Thank you, Stu Palmer. We really do appreciate it. It can't be echoed enough how great our team does and did on that day. And I know that there were a lot of departments mentioned. Some other departments, I know Cook County was helpful. And we do really appreciate all of our surrounding police departments that come to make sure that it's safe. And we appreciate all the work in all the departments, but it probably falls heaviest on Public Works and police that weekend, at least during the time. Those departments are really going 24 hours a day. But I'll stop with that so that we can have Kathy DeMonico come on up.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to thank the village for the support of our biggest fundraiser at the LGBA, which is the carnival. The pet parade and the carnival are part of the fabric of this community, and Public Works, police and fire, charity, thank you for your help during all this. It was a great event, a little wet on Saturday, but that's okay. I think everybody had fun and we felt safe and supported, so thank you all.
Thank you, Kathy. And I learned that the kids that had the wristbands on Saturday were whipping through the rides because it wasn't so heavily attended. So some people took full advantage of the weather. But Becky, come on up.
So I just want to appreciate everything that you all do. And in particular, those of you who took time out of your schedule to come to our Introduction to Anti-Racism conference, really appreciated your doing that. And we left shortly after the conference, but we will be back in touch with you to see how we can assist to make our village welcoming for everyone. And I think everyone got an invitation, but we're celebrating with our partners on Thursday night at 6:30 at the community center with our summer celebration. So we invite you all to come out and have some refreshments and share with us, continue our conversation. It would be helpful if you can come to either tag me or send an email to LaGrange Diversity or myself, so we have enough food for everybody who's planning on coming. But if you can't RSVP and you want to just stop by, that would be great. So
Thank you,
appreciate
Becky.
all.
And again, that's open to the public, correct?
It's more for people we've been partnering with. I'm sure if anybody wants to support diversity and come, we would not turn anyone away, but particularly to the village and the people we've been working with. But yeah, anyone could come.
Well, terrific. And I know when they come, they'll be able to see a nice community garden at the community house. That was an Eagle Scout project. So
A nice community garden and a beautiful mosaic project that many of you helped with.
yes, if you have not
haven't
seen
seen it,
the
please
anybody at home who has not seen the mosaic project, it's well worth driving by. And if you go at different times, the light reflects off it differently, and it looks wonderful. Any other public comments? Seeing none, I would ask if there's any trustee comments. Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Trustee Thompson and Trustee Augustine, we'll go with you as moving and seconding. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes unanimously. Please join us for some refreshments in the back. And if I am correct, it's from Wood and Paddle. So it will be a sneak peek of Wood and Paddle.